What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in to the channel, check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on the statements made by Demarcus Cousins, right? And Demarcus Cousins, he felt like that the Lakers did LeBron James dirty, right? And so what I want to do is because I think that these comments by Demarcus Cousins a point it just points out a mindset that I think really don't help DeMarcus Cousins and it really didn't help him throughout his career. And it just goes to show like how much that like some people are just so entitled, and some people think that they are bigger than the game. And people don't realize I don't care how big you are and how talented you are and as a basketball player. I just think that, or any athlete, I just think that it's an honor to be able to play the sport, and be able to make a living playing professional sports. And I think that when people don't take that serious or look at it that way, I think it just you just cheat the game and you cheat yourself. Nobody like the game of basketball don't owe you anything. You owe the game. I think, they're only every year, I think they're only like a little bit over 400 basketball players who are playing each year, 400 and something basketball players. And that's out of millions of people who want to play professional basketball. And so you're one of a small fraternity of athletes. And so even when you talk about LeBron James, you say, well, the Lakers didn't treat him, with enough respect. Like LeBron James invented basketball, or the game of basketball won't go on without him. And I didn't feel, even with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, Magic and Bird, I didn't feel that way about those guys. I think that those guys and that's why they probably reached the heights that they did, as far as, because basketball didn't owe them anything, as and that's when those guys talk about basketball, they talk about not cheating the game of basketball. But they don't, you don't hear those guys talking about, well, this, I got cheated. They was more so focused on not cheating the game of basketball, right? And so I think with that mindset, man, I think you do wind up eventually cheating the game of basketball, and you wind up cheating yourself, because you should be always focused on, as a basketball player, focus on getting better, not making turning yourself into a victim. And I always thought throughout Demarcus Cousins' career, like sometimes he did have that victim mentality, and he didn't get treated fairly all the time. But if you played a victim role, when you're not getting treated fairly, instead of focusing on trying to overcome whatever obstacles are placed in front of you, then you cheat yourself. And so and that's what I think, that a lot of today's basketball players, well, some of them had that mentality. And I think that if DeMarcus Cousins had a different mindset, I think that, even though, like I said, he did get treated unfairly at sometimes, but I think he could have overcome that if he'd have had a different mindset. And so now and that's the point of view that he's speaking of, or speaking from, when he speak about LeBron James. So let me listen to what DeMarcus Cousins had to say, and then come back and give some more of my input.
I don't like the way he was treated in LA. Like, we in this era now that you can't really, speak on his behalf, or it's considered. Oh yeah, or we paid by clutch, all this goofy shit. But for the most part, I grew up in the era of watching Bron, like create blueprint for the next guys coming up. So I think he's a legend in this game, hands down. I don't know. We kind of getting to a point where, when it comes to our legends in the game, I don't think they're going out gracefully the way they should. I mean, from Melo to how the CP was handled, we kind of watching how the Lakers just kind of act like Bron ain't LeBron, like, you know what I mean? So Kevin Durant, like, I want to go wherever he's going to be appreciated and where he's going to get the flowers he deserves. That's where I want. And Maybe that's Cleveland, maybe that's Miami. I don't know, but I think that's more so what he's leaning towards too. I mean, it's not really much, in my opinion, for him to prove in his game anymore. I think he's solidified in his legend, but I think as of right now, it's just about giving him what he deserves.
All right, so Demarcus Cousin, when he that statement, he just mentioned some guys, right? And I want to point this out. When you talk about Carmelo Anthony, you talk about Kevin Durant, you talk about Chris Paul, you talk about LeBron James, and he said that those legends are not going out the way that they should go out. And think about one thing that all those guys have in common is they play. All those guys have played for multiple teams during their career. Like Kevin Durant played for a lot, multiple teams. Chris Paul played for multiple teams. Carmelo Anthony played for at least three or four teams, right? LeBron James, three or four different organizations, right? And so if you as a franchise type basketball player, if you want to have leverage, then you have to have a forever home. I think having a forever home gives you more leverage because that makes your fan base is stronger. All of those guys that he mentioned they have fractured fan bases, right? And so, not to say that at different points in time those guys were treated unfairly, but teams are more, like they're more likely to think twice before they treat you a certain kind of way because they they were worried about the repercussions of treating you unfairly. Like when Chris Paul went out, like the way that they called Chris Paul when he was, they called him late at night and he was out of town with on at a road game, and they cut him or told him, no need for him to come back. And that probably wasn't the right thing to do. But just imagine, and this was a Clipper organization, but just imagine had the Clippers done that to Chris Paul when if that was like if Chris Paul was beloved in the city, like in Los Angeles, the organization would have had more incentive, number one, not to do that because they want to later on down the line, they want to be able to reap the benefits of the hard work that Chris Paul put in for that organization. Bring him back for to retire his jersey, bring him back, to build a statue and stuff like that. So they think about things like that. But or think about like if the way Kevin Durant is going out, like going around from team to team, like what team is going to what fan base and what team feel that connection to Kevin Durant, whereas though they want to retire his jersey, all the stats that he put up, all the accolades that he had, like what fan base feels like that connection to him, whereas though they were able to ride that wave with Kevin Durant, right? Or James Harden the same way. Like what fan base feels that connection to him? So all of these guys have fractured fan bases. And so if a team they feel the urge to if they feel the urge to treat a player unfairly or somebody think they're getting unjust treatment, then there will be pushback from the fan base. But like, who's going to push back for Chris Paul? Like, which fan base? LA, when he played, he was just coming back from Phoenix. He played in Phoenix. He played in Houston. He was in Charlotte. So they don't have. I think that affects the way you get treated. Because there's no incentive for the Clippers. There was no incentive for the Clippers to treat him anything else, any other way than what they wanted to do, because it wasn't going to be no repercussions from their fan base. Same thing with LeBron James. Like if the Lakers treated LeBron James and the way the fans are, you LA like in LA, you can't treat Kobe any kind of way. You can't treat Magic any kind of way because of the fan base. There's going to be some pushback. It's going to be some pushback. And so some of that, and that's why I say we take on that victim mentality. Some of that, that's how you overcome that situation. And so Demarcus Cousin, the way he got pushed out of the NBA, I thought was unfair, right? And sometimes you do get, but you got to have a way around that. And if you don't have a way around that, and if a team wants to you know, push you to the side or treat you in a way you think that's less than fair, then you know it is what it is. But like, what is it? The Golden State Warriors will never do They never do Steph Curry the way that they're doing. You know, like what the Lakers just did to LeBron James. You know, like, well, we're not gonna, just out of respect, because they're thinking about the big picture. Like you know, the Golden State Warriors be like, well, we're not gonna sign Steph Curry. Um, you know, or if they do something like that, they're gonna be like, they're only thinking about 4 or 5 years down the road when Steph, it's time for him to retire. They're gonna be very careful about how they manage him. With Klay Thompson, like there is enough water under the bridge between Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors, whereas though they can repair whatever differences they had. Because remember, they won 4 rings together, Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors, so they got that in common. And the Golden State Warriors knew that, you know, all right, he's going to go somewhere else. He's going to play. It's going to be some bad blood for a little bit, right? Going to be some bad blood, but they managed. You know, they ain't not saying nothing bad about him. He can talk all the stuff that he want. They would prefer for a player to have to eat his words than they send him out there, you know, and then they have to come back and they have to eat their words. You know, so they'll let you talk all. If you're the player, they'll let you talk all the smack you want to talk. But they're gonna be, if that town loves you, they're gonna be very, very careful about how they manage and about how they handle that situation. And so that's what, you know, LeBron James and all those guys that had those fractured fan bases. That's what it's all about. They don't have the leverage that somebody like a Kobe Bryant had, who spent 20 years in LA, or Magic Johnson. You know, like, you know, I can never see the Boston Celtics treating Larry Bird any kind of way. You know, their fan base would be in an uproar. Isaiah Thomas, like, you know, those fan bases will be in an uproar because they have that connection to them. They have that forever home. That's their home. That's their family. But LeBron James and Kevin Durant, James Harden, those guys, man, that, you know, they don't have a forever home like that. So the Miami Heat can say what they want to say about LeBron. Cleveland can, you know, lowball them as far as when it comes to, you know, I mean, there's no outrage because that fan base is not, you know, there's not really that deep connection with those fan bases. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm going to check y'all out in the next video. Peace.